Centers for Disease Control says that Washington, D.C. has one of the highest rates of binge drinking in the country. Now, there's a new documentary out. It's called Lipstick and Liquor, and it explores the secret world of women alcoholics in the suburbs. Emmy Award-winning producer and writer Lori Butterfield and psychotherapist Dr. Anita Gadhia-Smith are here today to talk about this epidemic. Good to see you both. Lori, first let's start with you and talk a little bit about the film. You have this long career in filmmaking, and what turned you on to this topic to make your documentary on this subject was actually you had read an article in the paper about a woman in Woodbridge.
That's right, that's right. I never met Julie Kroll myself, and the story really struck me as one that goes to the heart of broader themes that are happening in our society. There is definitely a rise in alcohol abuse and alcoholism, and particularly among women. I mean, the statistics are really bearing this out, but more than that, Melanie, there is such a double standard about women and drinking in our society, and Julie really represented that. There's a terrible stigma out there, and it's really holding a lot of women back from seeking treatment.
So Julie was a woman who was driving in the car after she was drinking, and she had her child in the car with her.
She did. It was a very, very cold December day back in 2009, and she stumbled away from her car after a minor car accident, and she had an open container of alcohol in the car, her daughter there. When the police arrived, Julie had already had a rap sheet. She'd had 3 DUI arrests, and according to her friends and family, very little was done to search for her. Not in the way I think that you and I would want somebody who was in trouble to be searched for. And the story unfolds over 13 days, through Christmas, through a terrible blizzard. You know, that first blizzard that hit in the Washington area back in 2009 really impacted their ability to search, but Julie was lost for 13 days.
What a story, and you can hear more about it in this documentary. And Dr. Gadhia-Smith, you're actually in this film.
Yes.
As a psychotherapist.
Yes.
And in being a local psychotherapist, what kinds of things are you seeing in your practice? Are you the kinds of things that happen to Julie? People like that come into your office and you have to treat them?
Absolutely. I see men and women, and particularly with women, I see a lot of women who are increasingly suffering from the disease of alcoholism. And you know, because of the stigma around the disease, sometimes it's harder for them to seek help. So they may begin the process by seeing someone privately like myself, and then you know, we assess the treatment needs and refer them where appropriate and get them the help that they need.
What do you make about these statistics? I mean, D.C. #1, one of the highest rates of binge drinking in the entire country, and #1 in wine consumption in the country. I mean, what do you think? Are we just all so stressed out around here?
We're stressed out. We're also, Washington's a very sophisticated city. There's a lot of fine dining. There are a lot of business-related events where people drink, a lot of socializing. There's just a whole lot going on here all the time, and you know, we're in the game of life, and where there's a lot of action and things going on, there's drinking in most social situations.
Unfortunately, you see some of the consequences, and when there is binge drinking or excessive drinking, it can lead to tearing apart families.
Absolutely, and very often family members are those who encourage the person with an alcohol problem to seek help, and that can be a catalyst for the dynamics changing in the entire family, because when one person seeks help, the other people in the family are affected positively, and everyone gets better. It truly is a family disease.
Laura, your film talks about Julie, but then you explore several other women as well.
Yes, Julie's story is a cautionary tale, but I really wanted to tell a story that had hope. And so we profiled 4 other women in various stages of recovery. And I think that that's one of the wonderful aspects of this film, is that it serves as a point to inspire a new dialogue, to give women a voice and give them a palette that shows that if you get the right treatment, you get the right recovery, you can go on to have a real quality life and not end up in the tragic way that Julie's life ended.
And after researching your film, do you have any sympathy at all for Julie?
I absolutely do. I have to say that I was one of these women that silently judged mothers who drank. I don't have a problem with alcoholism myself. And I often thought, you know, how could they do that? How could they put their child in harm's way? But after having done this documentary, I really think that the biggest thing that we can all do, women, the sisterhood that we have together, is to really try and shed this stigma and have compassion.
Did you notice any difference between career women and stay-at-home moms as far as the drinking goes?
Well, it's interesting. I think career women get a pass to go out in public and drink socially. And I think stay-at-home moms, there's this idea that they're kitchen drinkers more. They're really, you know, starting with the wine at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or maybe even harder liquor, and just moving on from there. And this is another big message I want to get out there, is about moderate drinking. I think we're now building up such a tolerance, and we're supersizing alcohol, that people are drinking 3, 4, 5, 6 glasses in a night and saying, I'm fine, when in fact we really need to be drinking 1 glass a night.
Dr. Smith, what do you think about what Lori just said? Do working women kind of get a pass?
In some ways, I mean, they're out of the home more, but I see stay-at-home moms suffering a lot more. Their drug and alcohol use is more closeted, and as a group, they have one of the highest rates of depression of any demographic. And so it's really hard for them to have the freedom to get out and seek help and do what they need to do and address the issues, because, you know, they have so many responsibilities.
So we need to talk about what are the warning signs and what can we do when we see our loved ones, you know, suffering and needing some help.
Some of the warning signs include loss of control, drinking more than you intend to, other people being concerned about your drinking, certainly an obvious consequence like a DUI or something like that. Wondering if you have a problem is a sign that you may have a problem, because people who don't have a problem tend not to wonder about it. And there are other physiological manifestations like increased tolerance and blackouts and different things that will tell you along the way that this is getting worse. And if a person truly is alcoholic, over time, if they continue to drink, it will always get worse, never better.
Oh, unfortunate, isn't it? So, Lori, what do you think the message is that you want to get out in your film?
I really hope that this message will seek to shed the stigma. As we've been discussing here, there is a double standard in society about women, and there's a real judgment in particular about mothers. And, you know, in the making of the documentary, it happened that the Charlie Sheen story broke, and everybody was really cheering him on with his tiger blood, and yet Christina Aguilera, who had been arrested for public drunkenness, was treated in a much harsher way. And I think we really need to open our eyes to this, and I think we need to have a different dialogue.
The film is called Lipstick and Liquor, and when can we see it, and where can we see it, Lori?
Well, it's going to be screening in Los Angeles next week. We had our premiere in New York a few weeks ago, and it will be screening here in Washington, D.C. early next year.
All right. Well, congratulations on the new documentary. It's great to meet you. Lori Butterfield and Dr. Anita Gadhia-Smith. Thanks both for coming in.